If you guys want to watch my team in the next day 1 raid, a link to my Twitch is in the description below. Yo, what's going on guys? It's G-Miners here, and as of right now, we don't know what the next reprise raid is going to be, but we know that it's either going to be King's Fall or Wrath of the Machine. So in this video, I am recapping all of the King's Fall mechanics for each encounter and going over the challenges that already exist. If you do want to get a recap for Wrath of the Machine as well, make sure to keep an eye out for when I post that, or just sub with notifications turned on. Also, a huge shout out to Tundi for the gameplay in this video. His channel will be linked below too. When you load into the raid, you are going to spawn at the old Court of Oryx, where you need to bank orbs in 6 statues to progress. You need to bank 2 of these orbs at the exact same time, at the exact same statue for it to count. 1 orb will spawn on each side of the map, this being left and right, so make sure to split your team up in half. Have players grab both orbs, meet mid, and then bank at roughly the same time. After banking each set, the next pickup location for these orbs will become further away on both the left and right sides. Barriers will also pop up on both sides as you progress to get more orbs. I think these barriers only block you on the returning path, so make sure to have your teammates shoot these to open the pathway back up. Taking too long to activate statues will start to revert the progress you have made, so make sure not to take too long here, and then after banking at each of the statues, jump through the portal that spawns. For the first jumping puzzle, I'm just going to show the route that you can take on screen now. This could change in Destiny 2, but I'm not sure. That's up to Bungie. And then after this main section with all the random ships that you're watching now, I don't have gameplay for it, but there will be a docked ship that leaves to cross a larger gap on the other side. There is a barrier that is going to knock you and your teammates off when the ship passes through it, so you're going to need 2 players to stand on 2 different plates near the dock to deactivate the barrier. Then when these players are able to get through, 2 plates on the other side are going to be able to hold it open as well. The first encounter is Totems, where you will need to prevent them from turning red, otherwise your team will wipe. Totems are on both sides of the arena, but the mist in the room where both totems lay will damage you over time until you are dead. To prevent this, one player needs to pick up the Brand of the Weaver buff. Now, any player who is inside of this radius will not take damage from the mist. This buff is present on both sides, so both teams of 3 will need to have 1 player holding it at all times. It lasts for 30 seconds in total, and when the timer runs out, it then needs to be transferred to another player, otherwise it disappears. To prevent it from going away, you just need to have 1 other player inside of the brand to transfer it. That's it. After the buff has been transferred from you to another player, you're going to have 10 stacks of Deathsingers power. You must then stand on the plate in the middle of the arena to transfer your stacks to slowly work towards unlocking the door. Just repeat this 3-person cycle of depositing Deathsingers power on each side until the door is unlocked. Also, killing adept acolytes near other enemies should cause these to turn into ogres, so don't do that. After the totem encounter is the Warpriest fight. To start this encounter, stand on all 3 plates in the arena. There's going to be 1 in the middle, 1 on the left, and then 1 on the right sides. Your team should be split into 3 teams of 2 here. All you need to do is kill ads and then eventually kill the Hallowed Knight that spawns. After all 3 of these knights are dead, the glyph sequence will start. For the glyph sequence, the giant glyphs, aka the rocks in front of each plate, are going to start to glow. 1 will glow at a time, and you're only going to be able to see this glow from the front of the glyphs, so players will need to reposition to read these. 1 will glow white at a time, indicating the order your team must stand on the plates. After you're on the first plate, the next glyph will start to glow, and so forth. The player that stands on the final plate, which is the 3rd one, will start a damage phase and get the buff aura of the initiate. This buff has a certain amount of stacks, and each stack has only a 10-second timer. If this timer hits 0 and runs out, the player with the buff dies, and it is transferred to a nearby player. This should happen 4 times in total, but to prevent the death, the player must kill an enemy when the timer is low. This is going to remove a stack, but it puts 10 seconds back on the timer. After the timer is completely gone, the Oculus will go off and wipe your team. To prevent wiping, everyone has to stand behind 1 of the giant stones. This saves your team and then removes the stone, so you will need to use different ones each and every damage phase to survive. Repeat these mechanics to complete the encounter. The challenge for Warpriest is super simple. It is just to not have any person hold this aura more than once. So as long as you do the mechanics normally, challenge is pretty free. After you complete the Warpriest encounter, there's going to be a small labyrinth. To make your way through this as simple as possible, make the first right, then the first left, then the first right again, and then head straight through to the exit. Super simple, just figured I would add this in. Golgoroth is up next. Shooting this central hanging orb will drop a pool of light down and start the encounter. Just clear all of the ads on the left and right sides, and then things will slow down, no more ads will spawn, and your team is going to be ready for a damage phase. I'm not sure if Golgoroth will randomly focus a player before you grab his gaze, but once you do grab his gaze, he will only focus that single player. To grab his gaze, you need to shoot him in the back crit spot that he has. His gaze will last on that player for a total of 20 seconds. Once a player grabs his gaze, they want to manipulate where he is looking by rotating around the upper ring of the arena. When he is looking in a good spot, or maybe a bit beforehand, your team is going to want to shoot one of the 6 orbs to drop down another pool of reclaimed light. This is where you will be standing to deal massive amounts of extra damage. Your whole team should just jump in here, except for the gaze holder obviously, and deal damage in Golgoroth's stomach crit spot. In the 390 version of King's Fall, one player would also get a buff that would cause nearby players to explode during a damage phase. I believe it was called Unstable Light. If this is present in the D2 version, this player just needs to walk away from their team. Most teams will also typically use a 1 orb strat, because when using multiple orbs, Cursed Thrall will spawn down in the pit, making things kind of hectic. The challenge for Golgoroth is to have each player hold the gaze during each damage phase. This means when the timer is running out for one player, a second player has to be ready, jump up, steal the gaze, and then reposition Golgoroth to continue dealing damage. This has to happen for each of the 6 players on your team, otherwise you will wipe. After killing Golgoroth in the next jumping puzzle, all you need to do is transverse the wall, and then when you reach these hive plates, one player will need to hold it while the rest of your team crosses the chasm with the floating platforms. After crossing all of the floating platforms, you will be back at the wall where you must climb to then reach the final area for the next 2 encounters. Up first is the Deathsinger encounter. Here, a random player will become torn between dimensions. They're going to become taken, and their screen is going to turn black and white. And you will also have a floating indicator above one of the 4 plates located around the arena. Wherever this indicator spawns is going to indicate the final plate that you need to hop onto. The first plate will always be one position counterclockwise to this final plate. Then, after hopping on this first plate, you need to hop on the other plates in a counterclockwise order too. If the close left platform from where you spawn has the indicator, that is the final platform. So the order of hopping on will be close right, far left, and then close left. This will build a jumping puzzle, and the player torn between dimensions will then climb it and grab the brand claimer at the top. They should jump immediately onto the Deathsinger that is not enraged. The enraged one will be red, so don't jump on this one. Interact, and then they will now have the aura which protects your fire team from the death song of the enraged Deathsinger. Do damage while staying inside this aura to prevent the him from wiping your team, and then repeat these mechanics. Just as a mental note, each time you grab the aura from one Deathsinger, that aura only protects you from the death song that the other Deathsinger is singing. This is why you grab the aura from the one that isn't singing. If you kill one of these Deathsingers, then there is going to be no aura to grab that actually protects you from the death song. This is why teams will typically lower the health of both Deathsingers so they are able to kill them easily in back-to-back damage cycles to prevent a wipe. Also, for this encounter, there is no original D1 challenge. And then finally, we have the Oryx fight. After starting the encounter and killing ads, Oryx is going to move to one of the 4 plates, slam his fist on it, and then leave behind an orb. This indicates that this is the first plate you need to step on. Once again, the order of stepping onto plates is counterclockwise. The first player to grab this orb is going to be torn, so 2 players should hop onto the first plate. First is going to be the runner, and then second is going to be the player actually holding the plate. This runner should jump up, and grab the brand claimer at the top of the jumping puzzle. People who are on the plates will want to spawn kill the Light Eater Ogres as soon as they come up out of the ground. You should be able to team shot Ogres on one side and then the other side in pairs of 2. Ogres are going to then drop Corrupted Light, which you want to leave in its place. Also, make sure to kill the Light Eater Knights because they also steal these Corrupted Light. After grabbing the brand claimer, the runner must then jump down and steal the Brand of Immortality buff from the Vessel of Oryx that spawns in the top of the arena. Make sure to kill the Vessel because he also steals Corrupted Light Orbs, and then Oryx is going to slam his hand again and charge up a wipe mechanic. You need to shoot his chest until he stuns to prevent this, and then after stunning, have each player that was defending a plate immediately stand in the Corrupted Light to detonate them at the same time, and then run straight back into the Immortality brand. The brand holder and another player who is a flex role will constantly shoot Oryx in the chest to keep him vulnerable during this process. Detonating 4 bombs deals 25% of the boss's total health. After the first damage phase, you then need to dodge taken explosions that Oryx spawns in, so make sure to just keep sprinting around your plates and in the bottom and top middle lanes. After the next 4 bombs go off, Oryx should be at 50% health, and he's now going to start spawning in the Shade of Oryx. He's going to create a dome at the far end of the arena and teleport players inside of it one at a time. Your player will need to kill the Shade of Oryx inside of this fast enough, otherwise your team will just wipe. The players who are outside will want to kill ads because if these ads reach the dome, they're also going to be teleported inside. This is just going to keep things easier for the inside players. After each successive damage phase, Oryx will now just continue to spawn in the Shade of Oryx until the encounter is complete. For the challenge, all 16 Corrupted Light must be detonated at the exact same time. To do this, you will want to make sure you have a good baking strat for the Ogres so that you can keep all 4 of these Corrupted Light on top of each other. This way, when you detonate, one player can hit all 4 of theirs by standing in one spot. Assuming all 4 players detonate all 4 of their Corrupted Light at the same time, you will complete the challenge. That is everything you should need to know going into King's Fall if that is the raid we get. My Wrath of the Machine video is currently in the works as well. Once again, if you guys do want someone to watch on day 1 for strats, pacing, or just to chill and enjoy the raid race, my Twitch is linked below. As always, have a good one, guys. Peace.